When you think superhero duos, we know who comes to mind. Captain America and Iron Man, Superman and Batman, Daredevil and Hulk. Okay, maybe not as iconic, actually quite an unusual duo. Yet, this is who the studio decided to pair together for this movie, and it actually works. So get ready to enjoy a retelling of Daredevil's first movie, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. Based on the plot, we prefer to call it Battle for New York. This story takes place directly after the events of the Incredible Hulk TV show. David Bruce Banner, referred to as David Banner, has been the Hulk for years and is on the run. He is played by Bill Baxby, who, by the way, is also the director of this film. David has an assumed fake identity and lives a quiet life, going from gig to gig. Anytime a situation gets awry, he has to move on because, as anyone who knows the character will understand, if Banner gets angry, he becomes the Hulk. We then pan into Matt Murdock's apartment. He is a blind lawyer who has two trusted associates who seem like Foggy Nelson and Karen Page, but are different characters entirely. We quickly get insight into Murdock's supernatural abilities, and this version is no pushover. In seconds, he was able to decode what someone had for breakfast. We are also introduced to this film's criminal mastermind, Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin. Yes, this film was quite jam-packed. He is actively committing criminal acts at a highly scaled and organized way. After one of these crimes are committed, we pan to the New York subway station where two of the criminals flee. Typical of the 1980s, graffiti is everywhere on the walls, but one stands out. Daredevil rules. Clear foreshadowing. This is also where David Banner coincidentally happens to be. He witnesses those criminals harassing passengers on the subway, particularly a young woman named Ellie Mendez. This angers David, who confronts the criminals.
Hey, stop that. Leave her alone.
As anger consumes David, he transforms into the Hulk and launches a ferocious attack on the criminals, causing chaos in the subway station. This is exactly what David was trying to prevent and has succeeded in holding back for so long. In one of the worst places possible, the Hulk is loose in New York City. Thankfully, the scene becomes contained with the Hulk running away due to the commotion. The police follow the trail and end up finding a scared, confused David Banner. He looks disheveled and suspicious. David gets arrested and is accused of the crimes Kingpin's men were responsible for on the subway. Even the woman he helped has turned on him. Why? Well, because Wilson Fisk threatened Mendez's life if she was to speak the truth. Matthew Murdock eagerly jumped on the case since he was familiar with the men Banner described. After taking on the case, he decided to visit the victim. When doing so, Matt Murdock overhears a conversation not meant for his ears and learns she is next on the Kingpin's chopping block. He returns later that day as Daredevil, and it's good that he did, because one of the corrupt nurses was about to end her life. Daredevil was waiting in the shadows and attacks the nurse who was just about to commit murder. He is wearing an all-black costume that covers half his face completely. The scene becomes chaotic with the nurse even attacking another witness. Daredevil trips the nurse with his billy club, causing her to fall onto equipment and electrifying herself presumably to death. Murdock is not the only one to suspect Banner is not to blame for this crime. The attempted murder of the victim angers the deputy chief. This situation is more complicated than what it appears. He confronts Banner, despite crossing boundaries to ironically help him. He has a feeling that Banner is not responsible for what happened. The deputy reveals that New York City is diseased. Too many are on the wrong side. Too many are corrupt. Too many on the payroll, even in his own department. Banner chooses not to cooperate, not wanting to get further involved in what was happening. Back at the hospital, Ellie Mendez is confused. Despite staying quiet, Kingpin's men still tried to murder her. She has a change of heart, calls Murdock, and tells him that the man they have in jail is innocent and actually tried to help. She was threatened. feels endangered, and wants him to come to the hospital personally. The scene changes to the hospital where Matt Murdock has arrived to meet Ellie Mendez, but the day continues to get worse. She is missing. The guard at her door is gone, and Ellie is nowhere to be found. Where the hell is she? Murdock roars. Not even his senses could pinpoint her location. Ellie Mendez was in fact kidnapped by Kingpin's underlings. The Kingpin reveals he has another role for her, to be used as bait. Banner and Murdock's legal team meet, and there are disagreements. Murdock wants this to go to trial, and Banner refuses. I have to avoid conflict. I change. Banner yells at them. A shouting match emerges with Murdock saying an innocent woman's life is in danger, and going to trial could save her. You have no choice, Murdock barks back. We then fast forward to Banner's worst nightmare. The trial is in session, and it is incredibly heated. The judge is yelling, Matthew is screaming, and prosecutors are hollering at Banner, who is the witness. Banner cannot keep it together, and his eyes brighten. His teeth clank together, and something miraculous begins to happen. His clothes begin to tear, his feet become too large for his shoes to hold, and his skin turns green. He has become the Incredible Hulk. We also see Stan Lee in his first cameo. He is in the jury stand, confused and stunned by the events unfolding. The Hulk is furious and doesn't rest a moment before attacking the jury stand, flipping them over. Poor Stan Lee. The Hulk doesn't stop there. After attacking security and throwing them around like rag dolls, he stomps over to the prosecutor and chokes him to death. Banner's eyes return to normal, and we see him still in prison, in his jumpsuit, and everything is okay. This was just a dream. But it felt so real. Banner is sweating and runs over to the jail cell's bars for support. This time, it was for real. He was becoming the Hulk. After transforming, the Hulk breaks out of the cell and out of the prison entirely. As Murdock witnesses the aftermath and discusses the events with the police, he realizes this is a job for Daredevil. Anyone who has seen the Daredevil Netflix show will remember a mouthy, connected criminal named Turk, who, when feeling threatened, gives information to Daredevil. This is exactly who Daredevil tracks down and confronts him. Turk tries to attack Daredevil with a knife, but is quickly disarmed, and Daredevil successfully interrogates him. Don't make me return. Daredevil's next stop, Banner. With his alter ego as his attorney, he had access to where he was staying. Daredevil confronts Banner, who is now shaven to help conceal his identity. It's heated, but Daredevil knows Banner is to be trusted, so he does something incredibly uncharacteristic of him. He reveals to Banner his identity. Daredevil is Matt Murdock. They join together and return to Matt Murdock's apartment, where they get insight into each other's lives. Banner learns about why Murdock became Daredevil, because the legal system became so corrupt it needed help outside the law. He didn't just rely on the powers that stemmed from his accident with radioactive liquid. No, he trained to go further. He took his body to the upper limits and beyond. He tells Banner that he met with the deputy chief privately and came to an understanding. Worked together to stop the corruption and crime of the city. When Bruce asks more about his condition, Murdock dismisses him and says most doctors do not know about radiation. Banner, however, knows quite a lot. He sadly informs Matthew that his vision will never be restored. Murdock reveals to him how his powers work, almost like a radar sense. Every sense is magnified beyond comprehension, to the point he can hear minor fluctuations in heartbeats, knows what someone is writing down on a piece of paper, even has knowledge of what people have in their pockets. A call comes in from the deputy chief they were just talking about. Banner and Bruce decode a message and learn Mendez is still alive. But taken hostage, David Bruce Banner tells Matthew that they are alike in more ways they can imagine, and he will help him. But for some reason, Banner does not tell him that he is the Hulk, the large green creature that broke him out of jail earlier. Daredevil goes to an old movie studio where Mendez is reportedly being held. He shows up and oddly enough, Mendez is sitting right in the middle of the studio, in an open space. He approaches cautiously, and the trap is pulled. Kingpin steps into the scene and explains what is happening. A circle of the largest speakers movie studios could afford blasting their loudest, most obnoxious sounds in conjunction with glaring lights. Kingpin's men then attack Daredevil. Banner also joins the scene after hearing a message from the deputy chief, revealing it was actually a trap. Banner is saddened, stunned, and angry witnessing his friend get brutally assaulted. He transforms into the Hulk and crashes into the moment. Mendez yells in confusion, "What is happening?" She refuses a man's advances on the subway, and it has led to assaults, giant monsters, masked vigilantes, organized crime, and now utter insanity. The Hulk takes out many of Kingpin's henchmen, and they flee the scene. Hulk carries Daredevil to safety. After calming down, he cools down to his Banner state. Daredevil, in his own way, witnesses it all. Murdock is badly beaten and is homebound. With wounds all over his body, he didn't want his associates to get worried or suspicious and told them a bogus story about falling down the stairs. The police deputy chief calls and leaves a message pleading for help and wondering if he was alive. Word on the street is that Daredevil is dead. The chief leaves him with information about the gathering of crime bosses from all around the country, but the issue is none of them have warrants. Even though Daredevil escaped, Fisk is under the impression there is no way he could have survived. His plan is to show the footage of Daredevil's murder to urge the crime bosses to form a nationwide coalition with him at the top. Kingpin then orders his underlings to end Mendez's life, but this is no easy task, and the criminal shows hesitancy and waits. Murdock's spirit is broken, and Banner tries to inspire him to get back into action. Banner said to him that he needs to use his abilities for good as well. They decide to truly work together in every capacity possible and infiltrate the crime bosses' meeting. The meeting, which is now in progress, begins with Fisk rewarding all of them with a cup of diamonds. After all, crime does pay. Fisk then plays them the footage of Daredevil's alleged demise. Daredevil goes by the roof and Banner goes in through the bottom door. They quietly interrogate one of the henchmen to find the location of Mendez. Banner and Murdock split up, which leads Daredevil to an area that causes him to become surrounded. "You're a fool to come here," yells one of the criminals. "I like it here. It's quiet," Daredevil retorts back. Not wanting to interrupt the meeting, the criminals forgo the use of guns and attack him with blunt and sharp weapons. Daredevil dodges many of the compatriots and fights, back with the speed they are unable to keep up with. He utilizes the tight quarters to his advantage and is able to take them out. Banner finds Mendez and is aided by one of Kingpin's own henchmen. Mendez is finally led out of the situation. In an incredibly dramatic fashion, Daredevil crashes through the wall in front of all the surprised crime lords. Kingpin's announcement of Daredevil's passing was a bit premature. Daredevil chases Kingpin to the rooftop as the crime lords scurry. To his shock, Kingpin manages to get into an advanced personal aircraft and flees the scene. Daredevil yells to the skies, threatening Kingpin and promising to get him someday. This story ends with Banner and Murdock back at Matthew's home. Banner thanks Matthew for pushing him to use his abilities not only as a scientist, as a doctor to help people. Matthew asks Banner to settle here in New York, but Banner unfortunately declines. He says there is a new radiation laboratory outside of Portland that has caught his eye and hopes to use this new facility to free himself. "I have a brother in the world now," says Banner. "Yes, you do. You take my secret with you," says Murdock. The story ends there. The movie was meant to branch off to a solo Daredevil show, but was unfortunately never made due to the studios favoring DC's Flash. This movie was actually quite fun, despite the title being a bit misleading. When you think of a film around the title trial of the Incredible Hulk, you immediately imagine Bruce Banner on trial for the crimes committed by the Hulk, with Matt Murdock defending him. While this would be a great premise for a film, this story is quite different. That's why we call Daredevil and Hulk Battle for New York. The effects are surprisingly creative for the time, and some of the scenes actually look pretty good. Other scenes are a bit dated, but keep in mind this was a low-budget movie. The Daredevil show would have consisted of Rex Smith reprising his role as Daredevil, Nancy Everhard as Krista Klein, Richard Cummings Jr. as Al Pettyman, and John Rhys Davies as the Kingpin. It would have expanded the Marvel TV universe, which at this point consisted of Hulk, Thor, Spider-Man, and more. Despite contrary opinion, this movie featured Daredevil's iconic black costume for the first time. The comics later incorporated this costume, and it was featured in the Netflix show. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe for more.